Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. My name is Lachelle Williams Franklin, and I am the co founder and executive director of the Williams Franklin Foundation. Today is June 5th, 2022, and we're so happy that you all are joining us for our Share the Love Part 3, where you will hear some excellent conversation and just see on display the excellence that it comes through HBCUs, through the students of our foundation.
And hello, everybody. My name is Dwight Franklin, husband of Shelly, and also the co-founder of the Williams Franklin Foundation. And we are just super excited to have everybody here. We have some really interesting dialogue with these young people. You'll hear from alumni of an HBCU, a current student of an HBCU, and you'll hear some. What is it like, in both worlds, being at an HBCU, being in the professional world, moving your career, all those sort of things. And so it'll be a fun time, some good discussion, and we look forward to kicking this thing off.
We look forward to it.
Yes.
So sit back and enjoy the next 35 to 40 minutes with us.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we're going to introduce three wonderful people to you all. And we've got Noah Nicholas. And say hi, Noah. All right.
Hey.
Cheyenne Riley.
Hey.
And Janae Austin. I think you're on. Yeah.
Yep.
Hi.
All right. Awesome. Why don't you all give a 30-second introduction of who you are, what HBCU you went to, what your major was, or currently is. That's right. And just a brief intro of what you're doing. Why don't we start it off with Cheyenne?
Yes.
Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Cheyenne Riley. I'm about to be a senior this year coming up at Lincoln University in Pennsylvania. I'm from Capitol Heights, Maryland, and at Lincoln I majored in biology. I pretty much loved science my whole life. I met my 7th grade teacher, and she just really introduced me to science, and just I just really fell in love with the subject, honestly. And I knew that when I got to college or even high school that I wanted to really focus on anything involving science. And for my future career goals, I aspire to become a pediatrician. And yeah, I'm still in college, so that's about it for me.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheyenne. And we'll start with ladies first. Janae, you're next.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Janae Austin. I am a recent graduate of Hampton University, and I am currently a rising 2L at Harvard Law School. And my career goals are to be a child advocate attorney. And I'm currently a summer associate at Aiken Gump doing their pro bono scholars program.
Nice.
Awesome.
All right, fantastic. And Noah?
Bring up the rear, Noah.
Hey guys, my name is Noah Nicholas. I graduated from Howard University in May of 2020 with a sports medicine degree and a minor in chemistry. A huge part of my college experience was probably that I was on the swim team there. Swam all 4 years. I was co-captain of the swim team my last year, and it was just a big part of my college experience, and I absolutely love it and would do it all over again. So I majored in sports medicine, but I kind of changed career goals during the COVID year. I think a lot of people went through that, and now I'm in the medical device industry. I just started as a medical device sales representative. I'm still in training. But I'm going to be promoted as a medical device sales representative, and I'm absolutely loving it. And I'm about 5 months in, and yeah, it's been a journey. Moved across coast, so now I'm on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest, and loving it. I'm loving it.
Awesome.
Good for you. Wonderful. Well, let's get into it. So that was our first question, and I guess we should mention, Dwight, that we're both Howard University alums.
I started to say,
you got to throw it in the mix with everybody else's.
Yeah, and Janae, you went to Hampton University, the other HU.
Of course.
And now you're at Harvard University Law School, the other HU. The other HU. where where we hail from the Mecca. So it's all good. We got a lot of love for Hampton.
Glad you got something for the HU thing. So
Right.
maybe your next degree,
Maybe
you
you
get a
get
doctorate from the real HU.
that's right.
Sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
No, it's all love. It's
It's
all
all
love. We're
love,
super
all
proud
love.
of all of you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And part of our foundation, the Williams Franklin Foundation, is we say we're not just a scholarship. This year we're going to be providing. Don't get mad at us, guys. We're going to be providing 20 students with $5,000 scholarships. So we're going to be providing $100,000
Awesome.
in scholarship this year.
That's right.
Yeah. So
Wow.
Actually, in about a month.
and yeah, that's true. That's true. Next month.
About a month.
That's
Yep.
next month.
Wow.
And we've grown a lot since we started in 2014. And I think maybe Noah, you may have received one of our first ones, I believe, about 2000. I think Eugene as well, something around that around that time frame as well.
Yeah.
And but we're growing, but it's thanks to donors and supporters that have allowed us to continue this growth.
That's definitely true. We give big thank you and so much gratitude for all of our supporters out there who've given, what they may think is small or even what they think is big, but every little bit counts.
Yeah.
I mean, every single thing counts, and it helps us to do our jobs more efficiently, and then going out and identifying some awesome HBCU students that are so deserving of not only the scholarship, as you mentioned, but we also provide professional development opportunities for internships, as well as a mentor matching program. So we really do our best to not just be a typical scholarship program, but to provide other wraparound services
throughout the school year.
And throughout the school year to students attending HBCUs all over the country.
Yep.
Since 2014.
2014.
Yes.
And these three young people are a great example of it. So we're excited. Let's get it going.
Yeah. So let's go to the next question. So with all that being said, we could start, we'll go backwards. We'll start with Noah this time, and ask about why did you choose Howard University?
Oh, okay. Well, that was an easy decision for me because one, I wanted to go to an HBCU and I wanted to swim in college. And Howard is the only HBCU D1 swimming and diving program in the entire country. Wow. So that was a very easy decision. But why did I want to go to a HBCU? Well, my mom went to Howard and my brother and sister went to Howard. And I remember they went to FAMU, another HBCU. So I remember my mom telling me that my sister, when she was exploring colleges, when my brother was exploring colleges, they would sit in the auditorium and they would go through, what it would be like to attend the college. And they would say something like this, like, look to your left, look to your right. One of you guys won't be here after your first year. And my mom was like, I don't know, if she wants to put her children through that situation. So she always pushed HBCUs because she always felt like HBCUs supported the people that went there a lot more. And they just weren't there. The schools weren't there just to collect the check and they didn't care about them. So I really felt like the HBCU decision was the right for me because I really felt supported through freshman year, sophomore year. Those are like the hardest years, especially being 18-year-old, you're moving to a different state, you're meeting you're in a whole new environment, you're meeting so many different people. You kind of need that support system. And I really got that at Howard at that HBCU. So I'm really appreciative of that.
Awesome.
All right. So let's go next to Cheyenne.
So I chose Lincoln. So first for high school, I went to Charles Herbert Flowers right in Springdale, and I kind of thought of Flowers as like a mini HBCU. Like it was just so tight knit and so family oriented, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed my experience at Flowers, and I kind of wanted that same experience going into college. I knew for sure that I did not want to stay in Maryland, only because I lived here my whole life, and I just wanted like a change in scenery, just like meet different people, a new environment. I definitely think like you can only grow in like unfamiliar areas. And I knew for sure that like Maryland, I just needed to just get away. So Lincoln was just like the perfect distance, only about an hour and a half away from home. So I was able to come home often, to come visit my family and things like that. And I don't know, it's just like when I went for the open house that they had, it just really felt like family. Like it just felt like I had belonged there, honestly. And just to kind of piggyback off of Noah, I just really felt supported there, like with every decision that I made to major into biology pre-med. Like my advisor, she's always like sending me emails about like different opportunities, internships, scholarships sometimes. Like it just felt like a lot of support, and it just felt like home to me. So that's why I chose Lincoln.
Great.
Very
Yep.
nice.
I think
Very
that's
nice.
a common sentiment from a lot of people who
Yeah.
attend HBCUs, that feeling of home.
Yeah, and support, right? That's awesome. All right, Janae, you're next.
Yes. So I had two reasons I feel like for choosing not just an HBCU but Hampton University. I had always gone to predominantly white high school, middle school, elementary school, and these were all places where you had African American history as like electives. And I knew that for higher education, I wanted to go somewhere where my history would not just be an elective or be a course that you could opt into or take. And at Hampton, Black history was a required course. It was taught, it was integrated into all of our courses, where I knew that that wouldn't happen at a PWI. And then I also knew that I was the first in my family to go to college, and that would be a struggle, and that I wanted to go somewhere where people around me would understand my struggle and support me through that. And like Noah said, I didn't want to go somewhere where I was just seen as a paycheck to them, but I wanted to go and be surrounded by family outside of family. And so that's why I picked Hampton. And Hampton has a gorgeous campus too. Just to
Yes, it does.
Yes, it
It's
does.
a beautiful campus. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Hampton just made the most sense for me at the time financially, and I love it. And it was an amazing decision.
Awesome.
That's
Awesome.
wonderful.
Awesome.
So you all kind of highlighted, I think, three major things were like takeaways. That feeling of home, that feeling of the African history, pretty much being woven into everything that you're learning, and just feeling that sense of connection with the people around you.
Yeah.
That's great.
And Johnny, I love it. I'm gonna actually use what you said about the African American history not being an elective at HBCUs. Right. That is key. I love that. I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna quote you though every time I say it. Not being an elective, it is an important aspect of the HBCU experience. Absolutely.
It is.
Now let me kind of jump off topic for a second on that one. How would you say that the African American history aspect is important to you, Jenna?
So for me, and I guess this conversation is probably better had now that we are seeing schools and school boards across the country actively try and erase the Black plight out of their history textbooks. And I was able to see that happen within my own school district, right? And we're not especially known for it. I think it swept under the rug a bit. But as I'm coming home and telling my mom about, my history teacher said the Confederate flag actually isn't that bad. And so now my mom has to sit down and have this discussion with me. And so going throughout middle school and high school, as I'm realizing that I'm not being taught our full history, it made Black history just that much more important to me. So I knew I had to go somewhere where I could relearn all that I had been taught so far. And I feel like knowing our plight and our history makes fighting for our struggle and fighting for the betterment of our people so much more important and so much better.
Wonderful.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent stuff.
Yeah. So, Johnny, we'll start with you with the next question. Can you share with us and highlight from your experience at Hampton?
Yes. I'm not sure if either one of you have heard this before, but I share it often because this is one thing that I feel like embodies HBCUs, embodies small colleges, and it just embodies being seen by your professors. But I had this course, it was a political science course, my second year at Hampton, and I was doing all right in the course. And I think I raised my hands a few times, and I didn't think the professor knew me that well, but I was starting to struggle a bit, and I was, I guess, raising my hand less. And she actually texted me, and I don't know how she got my number, but I guess they do. She texted me and she said, "Hey, you need to come to my office hours. Like, I noticed that you're not coming. I noticed that you're struggling. We need to see you in here." And I couldn't refuse the professor's text. So I started going to the office hours. I started to understand the subject material a bit better. And that same professor is actually how I received my first congressional internship. She had a connection with the congressman in the Hampton Roads area, and said, I know Janae is a strong student and a hard worker, and I've seen her on an upward trajectory. And I think you guys really work together. And it just shows that maybe in a larger classroom, maybe in a classroom filled with other students or white students, where I could have been, where that support might not have been there, or where I might have just gotten caught up in the mix. It just showed how my time at Hampton and in my time at the HBCU really supported me.
Wonderful. Wow. That's a great example of how the support at HBCUs, leave no person behind.
That's right. And,
I love that.
And no one's being overlooked.
Yeah.
No one's invisible in the classroom.
That's wonderful.
That's great.
All right.
What about you, Noah? What was the highlight of your experience?
I kind of have a funny experience. Freshman year, and it's kind of a long story, so I'm gonna try to keep it as short. But freshman year, first semester of my college season, we had to take a class called Freshman Seminar. Probably something similar at Hampton or LinkedIn as well. It's just like this class to kind of get you introduced to the university. And so we had Freshman Seminar, and we were doing an extracurricular activity, and it was in the business auditorium. And they said that 2 special guests will be there. And we knew that Nick Cannon was a freshman on campus that year. And that was my freshman year. So we were both freshmen together. I never saw him, though. But he was a freshman on campus. And what happened? So we knew he was probably going to be there. And we thought he was the special guest. And Seth Meyers of the Late Night Show was going to show up as well. And we were going to talk about our college. They were going to talk about their college experience and give us advice and tips and things of that nature. And so we get there, we all show up, we're ready to listen to Seth Meyers and Nick Cannon. And Seth Meyers introduces Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon comes out, and everybody's clapping, everybody's yelling. And now Seth Meyers sits down, and he's like, okay, well, we're ready to introduce the special guest. And we're like, who's that? And we thought it was Nick Cannon. Well, out comes the first lady at the time, Miss Michelle Obama. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
She comes out from behind the curtain. Everybody's like popping out of their seat, like taking pictures. Like, they told us not to take pictures, but nobody cared. Like, it was just, this is a small auditorium. Like, this is maybe 150 seats. It's not really super big. Not the big school one like in Crampton, but it is like a small auditorium. So it's very intimate. Like, you were really close to the stage and to her, and just to be there, it was just like, oh my gosh. So she's like, there's more to the story. So she's speaking, and she's like, she's answering questions from the audience, and I'm looking at the time, and I'm like, I have a chemistry quiz in like 15 minutes. This is freshman year. Yeah, this is freshman year, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how embarrassing would it be if I had to walk out on the
Oh gosh.
She was the first lady at the time. Like, this is 2016.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she starts taking questions from the audience, and I was like, okay, let me calm down. I need to go. I can't get a 0 on this quiz, right? It's like one of my first grades. I don't want to start out like that. And so I'm like, okay. And so I don't go on the first question. I wait to the second question. I told myself I'm going to get up on the second question, and I'm just going to get up, walk to the back of the auditorium, and walk out. The second question was from a guy that was sitting right next to me. So he stood up, asked this question. So everybody was looking over there, and I still got up.
Oh, did you really?
So I grabbed my book bag. And I'm like trying to stay as low as possible. And I'm making my way to the middle aisle so I can walk to the back of the auditorium. And she's saying her answer to the question, and then she stops in the middle of like her answer, and she just says, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Oh.
And I turn around, and I'm like, oh my God, is she speaking to me? I was like, did she just call me out? I was like, oh my gosh. And the lady that was hosting it, she had the microphone. She came from the front of the stage and she ran to the back of the auditorium and was like,
no.
shoved the microphone in my face, like, what you gonna say? And I was like, I have a chemistry quiz in 5 minutes. I'm so sorry. And Nick Cannon and Seth Meyers was making jokes on my way out. I was just running. And then I got outside the auditorium. I'm like fumbling for my phone. I'm calling my mom and I'm running across campus trying to make this quiz. And I'm like, Mama, the first lady just spoke to me. It was so crazy. It was so wild. I mean, I'll never forget that moment. And that was freshman year. I don't remember. I haven't forgotten a single moment of that. Like,
You will never forget that moment.
yeah, it was crazy.
Oh my God.
And guess what? That's not even the worst part. Guess what? I failed the quiz.
So you could have stayed the whole time.
I could have stayed. I might as well stayed, right? I got an A in the class. But I failed that quiz.
What a great story.
That's a great story.
Yeah, crazy. It was so crazy.
Man.
Yeah.
That is too funny. Oh, you have me.
I was all sweating and everything. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't.
Concentrate. Oh wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
Oh my! I bet you Michelle Obama will always remember that too.
I hope so. If I ever get to meet her, I was like, "You remember me?"
She'll say yes.
The guy that walked out on her. Oh my god.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
great.
that is awesome.
I know.
All right.
It's crazy.
All right, Cheyenne, you got a hard road to fill.
I know. I was gonna say, like, is my experience really that good? You got to be Michelle Obama. I'm super jealous, but
Okay.
I am too. I was in the auditorium.
I would definitely say the highlight of my experience at Lincoln actually is this past year. I just finished up my junior year there. So I think I said it like in the beginning when I was like introducing myself, but my advisor, she has like been a pivotal like piece of my experience at Lincoln. She's just always checking up on me and just always following up with me with like my tons of emails because I always email her back to back. I know I get on her nerves sometimes, but she knew that my freshman year I came to Lincoln is when COVID happened, so it got cut short. And then sophomore year, it was virtual the whole year. And I think I really missed out a lot during that time because I do want to become a doctor. I know that I wanted to get some shadowing experiences. But because of COVID, it was kind of limited and it was like super hard to find like hospitals and clinics that would let people come in and shadow doctors. But my advisor knew that that was like really important for me. And she knew that I kind of needed that to really make sure that becoming a physician was really what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And actually, she had emailed me this past year about this internship opportunity that I actually got this summer. It's at Georgetown University Medical School in DC. So I'm super excited. She emailed me about it, and it basically is like just like an amazing program. Like they allow you to shadow doctors every week. You get to do in-lab research, which I've never done before. Only like the labs at school, but never like an actual research project. And then you get to go out to the community and do like community service. So I don't know, my connection with my advisor would probably have to be like the highlight of my HBCU experience because it's like everything I told her, she was able to either help me find that or she just was really supportive about all of my decisions and just helping me make connections with different people and things like that and telling me about like internship fairs or scholarships or science fairs and things like that. And she just really has been like overall a good person and throughout my experience at Lincoln. She's probably like the highlight of it, honestly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That's great.
Yeah,
I mean, it shows the difference that one person can make.
Yes.
You know? And again, it's like if we all just did things just like that, just lend a hand to each other, you'd be surprised at how we can all help lift, each other up.
Yes.
And it's just through her network. And it also shows the power of networking because clearly she must also have a good network that she was able to tap into to help you out. So that's great.
Yeah, and that's the power of the love at HBCUs. For her to constantly follow up with you and make sure that you're getting the service that you need to help you be a better student and move you into your careers. That's HBCU love.
That is. And just like what Johnny said about, how her teacher noticed that she was participating less and, took the time, because she didn't have to, to find your number.
Right.
And then follow up with you and hold you accountable. And that's the love of the HBCU.
Yeah. Yeah. And Noah got held accountable too.
That's right.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
That called out.
Crazy experience.
So this next question, we'll start it off with Cheyenne. Well, actually, what I'm going to ask you is this: what inspired you to pursue medicine and healthcare?
So for me, I grew up with really, really terrible asthma, and I think part of that was my fault because I wasn't really taking my medicine like I should have. But I would be like in intensive care units like maybe 2 or 3 times out of the year because of my asthma. So it was really, really bad. I remember one time we had went to Kentucky to visit my grandma, and literally we were at the nail salon, and I think the fumes were just too much for me to take that I had to get rushed to the hospital. Like, it was just things like that, like stuff that could have been prevented, but I just wasn't really doing my part. And I think because I was also really young as well, that played a part in it. But it was one point in time, I think my doctor just kind of got like fed up with me, like having like, because you go to the hospital, you have to follow up with your primary care physician. So after I would go to the hospital, I would come and tell her like why I had to go, what was that trigger and things like that. And I think she just got tired of me telling her how I always go to the hospital. And she just really sat me down and she told me what my triggers were specifically. She showed me how the proper way to use my inhaler, because I know a lot of people with asthma, they just take like the little pump, but you actually should use like the chamber to really get everything in. So she showed me the proper way to use it. She taught me like things I should stay away from, so like my triggers and things like that. And I don't know, I just think that experience with her teaching me like the importance of me taking my medicine, because I didn't really know how important it was, honestly, until I think that last time when I was at the nail salon and couldn't even enjoy my trip with my grandma, that I was seeing like how serious it was. And just her just sitting me down and really teaching me about my asthma, I just really valued that experience. And I knew that I wanted to be that same person for other people when I get older. And also, I think like my experience with asthma, I'm able to share with other people with asthma, like why it is really important, because like this thing can kill you. Like, you want to be able to take your medicine and you want to like treat that as if you're like brushing your teeth every day. Like, it's nothing to play around with. And that's really the main reason why I wanted to become a pediatrician. Just seeing like the impact that they have in people's lives and seeing how like they serve on like the front of the community, how they interact with people, and like people hold them to like a higher standard and people really respect them, just really motivated me to want to be that person for other people.
It's beautiful.
That's great.
Right. That's beautiful. I mean, as you're talking, it just reminds me of the fact that every interaction that we have as people with other people, you just never know how it can impact somebody, right? Like that doctor probably has no idea that here you are, a little girl who the doctor treated, is you that treatment and the way that the doctor, she or he responded to you, has now changed the trajectory of what your goals in life. Like, that's pretty impressive. That's pretty amazing, right? That's awesome. What a really nice story. Just remember that as you get it.
That's
Because it's like the doctors I had before, they just would be like, okay, well, make sure you're doing this and things like that. Just kind of like, doctors see a lot of people throughout the day. So it's like, you're just another patient. Yeah. But like when you are the patient, this is like the biggest concern of your life. So people that treat it on the back end, it's like, hold on, like this can kill me. Like, this is the thing standing between me being alive and being dead. So it should be really important to you just as it is to me.
Very nice.
I love that.
Very nice.
That's the right attitude. Yeah.
You're going to be a great doctor.
You are. You are. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, man.
All right. So we'll go on to the next question, and it'll be for Janae. So how did your HBCU prepare you for your, I would say professional pursuits, but in your case, going on to Harvard Law? And if you can just talk a little bit about that transition from an HBCU to a PWI.
Definitely. And I think the two actually go hand in hand because we've been talking so much about the support and community that an HBCU gives you. But I think it also, being an HBCU, you're aware that you're about to go into a world that is not predominantly Black. You're about to go into a predominantly white world. And I think an HBCU helps you prepare for that as well. And it gives you the tools you need to know that you now have to kind of look out for yourself. And I think that I was able to utilize those tools at Harvard very well. And it also gives you an amazing network. And I know what a Black network can do for you, what a Black community can do for you. So that's something that I also sought out at Harvard. And I, immediately went to the Black Law Student Association here, the BALSA, we call it. And I found a family in the community within there. And those are just things that Hampton put on my brain very early. That's something that I would need to do. You need to find your Black people, and you need to make a community out of them wherever you go. And finally, I think preparedness is something that you're taught almost at HBCU in a bad way. You need to really be on top of things, not because it's easy for you to slip through the cracks, but because sometimes administration-wise, some things are a little bit slower. And so you need to really be on top of those kind of things to make sure that you are taking the correct courses, to make sure that you register on time, things that you can easily get behind on, and things that when you're in a graduate institution, people always have that done for them. So when they now need to do it for themselves, they're a little bit behind on that. But I think when we come from HBCUs, we're a little bit ready for that already. And I think that helped me in my graduate institution as well.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Going to law school myself, and I remember coming from Howard, and as you said, just having some challenges in the administration with registering for classes, making sure it's the right class, so on and so forth, and then going on to a PWI for law school. And being prepared, right? Like being prepared, like, okay, I got to make sure everything is right. I got to be on top of it. I got to meet the deadlines. I got to make sure it's the right classes. And the process was just so smooth and easy, honestly, that and it was so efficient in the sense that I was like, wait a minute, is there anything else I'm supposed to do? Did I miss any steps? But it just taught me that diligence and just staying on top of things that I think is so important, not just in your educational pursuits, but even when you get into your profession, just having that attitude where to always make sure you're on top of things, you're supposed to be, and when you show up you're prepared, and who the players are, so that if an issue arises, immediately how to just jump into being very solution oriented. So I can definitely relate to that. That's great.
And Johnny, I got to ask you this too. With you being the first in your family to go to college, right? And here you go to Hampton University, one of the best schools in the country, right? Then you go into Harvard University Law School, one of the best law schools in the world, right? How has your experience as a first generation college person, like that's an awesome feat. Like, can you expand on that some?
I can try. I think when you're living in something, you don't necessarily realize how amazing it is to be going through it. You're just trying to survive a bit and go to school and live a life. But I think even coming from a first generation college family, the support that my family has is still there, right? They are still so supporting and so loving. And I think I definitely needed them to help me get through this. But I also needed an amazing HBCU to let me know what the professional world is like, to let me know what all of my options are. It really pulled me out of, I'm from Philly. It pulled me out of that Philly mindset where it's like, okay, you can become a nurse maybe, or you can just go and get a regular office job. And it showed me kind of what the world is, and laid out for me all of my options. So I think Hampton really helped with that. But I really think it's just support and programs like this. I think I've talked to Miss Franklin so many times just about some like just random questions. She helped me through the application process. So when you find different support networks along the path, people who are willing to pour back into communities and give back, that's what really helps first-gen students like myself.
Wonderful. Keep talking about that support.
Yeah,
it keeps coming back to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Noah, the next one for you. How did going to Howard prepare you for your career right now? Like, what challenge did you face? Any at all? Were you ready to rock and roll? Tell us about that experience.
Yeah, I think we kind of I think everybody talked about it a little bit, and I just try to expand on it a little bit more in my own personal way. For one, I would say, like again, being at Howard is kind of like, or being at HBCU is kind of like being in this kind of safe haven, kind of bubble where you get to find yourself, you get to understand who you are. And I think that's just so important, especially when you get out into the real world, because if you don't have that, you're able to be pushed around super easily. And I believe that Howard really prepared me for, just finding myself and being confident into who I am. I just remember, giving public speeches all the time, doing interviews at Howard, whether it was on the swim team or whether it was for a class in school. And I just remember, feeling confident. And it's also like seeing people like you succeed. So when I talk to people that didn't go to HBCU, I always say, like, it's something about seeing people that look like you succeed that also puts into you that maybe you can do that or do something like that. And I think that is just something that's super important as well. So any obstacles that you face outside of HBCU, you can reflect on your HBCU experience and remember that. And then secondly, a lot of people touched on this as well, is the network that a HBCU brings. I mean, every time I go to like a grocery store and I wear my Howard shirt, everybody's like, "Yo, HU." You can't get away from it. You can't get away from it. I come out here, it's like, "Yo, you went to Howard? You went to Howard?" And it's the Pacific Northwest, like, right. It's the other coast, So I mean, HBCU, the name, HBCUs in general, they just travel. They travel the world. I believe they travel the world, but they definitely have traveled all the way over here too. And it's just amazing. It's really amazing what the network can do. I wouldn't be where I am with this job today if it wasn't if I didn't meet somebody at my HBCU. And she is now my best friend. And she introduced me to this industry, and it literally changed my whole trajectory, my whole life. And I'm really glad to be here, to be in this position. What I realized, most importantly, what I realized with networking, you want to network with a lot of people, but a lot of times all it takes is one person to really just open that door for you. And it was a lot of that for me. My best friend opened the door with this industry, introducing me. And then when I got an internship, it was one more person opening a door that got me this position, introducing me to another person. When I was on the track to become a PA, Mr. Franklin introduced me to one of his best friends and to shadow him in the office and as a physician assistant, right? And that experience helped me on my track where I am today, right? So, and I just really believe that meeting people and networking, especially in that HU environment, is so, so beneficial. I think there should be a class on networking. That's for freshmen. Like, there should be something. It has to be, because it's really what that saying is. I guess it's not your, what does the saying go?
It's not what you know, but who you know.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's so true.
You want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're right. It's so true. In fact, I think it's crucial to know how to network, and that never changes, right? So you go into one atmosphere, even at Howard, which, all of you kind of touched upon, just getting into immersing yourself into the environment, into your community, and networking. And through your networking, opportunities came all of your way, just from networking. But then when you graduate and you go out into the professional world, then you have to continue to do that, because it's not always what you know, it is who you know. And you never know, because you only need one yes.
Yes.
One yes.
Yes.
Right? You just need
Yes.
one yes. But
Yes.
they have to meet several people who know somebody who knows somebody that knows somebody
Yeah.
to get to
Mhm.
that yes. And if you
Mhm.
reserve yourself for just, the community that you came from or the one you're in now, then you may miss out on opportunities that are just sitting there waiting for you. So
Right.
I agree.
Exactly.
Yes, yeah.
Exactly.
And I agree with you too. Networking definitely should be a class. It should be
It
a
should
course.
be.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Of
it's so
course. Or
vital.
something.
Yeah.
You're right.
It
And
should
it
be.
happens throughout your life. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
never stops. Like, so just
Mhm.
remember that for you three and anybody watching, networking is a constant thing throughout your adulthood as well.
Mhm.
Get the next job, the business, the next contract, whatever it is, it's always about networking and people knowing who you are. But then on the same side of that is you always got to do good work.
That's right.
Right. Quality.
Quality
Yeah.
work. That's right.
When you arrive, right? When you
Yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah.
must do good work. Yeah.
Which
Right.
is what Janae and Cheyenne have been talking about with their
Right.
experience. Right? Janae's teacher, you must have made an impression on your teacher doing
Mhm.
good work for that teacher to reach out to you.
That's very
right.
true.
And
Right.
then for Cheyenne as well with your counselor, right?
Mm-hmm.
They can sense and feel things, and everybody knows there's something about people who want to do more, and people want to help people who want to do more.
That's true.
And the more you want to do more and you express you want to do more, there will be more people that will come into your journey,
into your sphere. More opportunities
and
will come
doors
your
and
way.
more doors start opening. So
That's true.
you all just continue doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Doing great work. All right.
All right. So we'll go on to the next question is for you, Janae. If you can just let us know what your thoughts are on the recent nomination of Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson as the first Black woman associate justice to the Supreme Court.
Yes. I feel like just amazing. Like that's like the first word that always comes to mind. It's just amazing, so important, so influential. I think Noah had talked about seeing yourself in places where people like you have never been before, and how amazing that is. So I just had two general reactions to, and the first was just almost annoyance at what it and annoyance at what it took to get there. And I think on the Senate floor, Chuck Schumer sorry.
Go ahead.
He said even in the darkest times, like there are light. And that's a helpful quote for this time, right? Because you had to witness all that she had to go through as the stellar candidate, right? She checked everyone's boxes and she still had to fight so hard to get there. And then on the other hand, having spent my first year in law school reading so many Supreme Court opinions that maybe just seemed so dense. And I was like, wow, if you just had one Black person in the room, you would know that's not true. You would know this is what the community needs. And so knowing that she will now be able to be that Black voice in the room, not speaking for an entire community, but at least speaking from her own experience, I know that will essentially just be enough sometimes. So I'm so excited for that. And so happy to see her there.
I know it is. It's a remarkable thing to see, and you're right. Noah said it. You're saying it. It's wonderful when you can see in others what you want to become, because it just lets you know it's possible, and even more so that it's probable, right? Because sometimes we just say it's possible when you can't see it, but you can think it. But then when you see someone who's doing it, then it's like, yeah, this is probable. This is definitely something that's achievable. And so we need those great examples around us all the time to show us just that. Well said.
Yeah. Sorry about that, everybody. Had two calls back to back, and our daughter's away, so I was like, let me make sure everything's okay. So I was
like, makes sense.
That's right. So Noah, what about you? If you could tell us, how can HBCUs recruit more star athletes to their sports program?
Yeah, that's a good that's a good question. One thing I always did when I went back home for the summer was speak to my club team back home, the one I trained with before I came to Howard. And my coach would say, okay, here's your turn. You're sitting on the seat. You need to speak to the whole team about your college experience and what it's like to compete on the D1 level. And coming to practice every day, how much dedication it takes, right? What do you need to do to get there? What times you need to achieve. I think really it starts with the star athletes or the athletes in general that are just there at HBCUs, going back into their communities and speaking about it. Because there's nothing like that person-to-person interaction where somebody from your community that went to an HBCU and they're speaking positively on it. You're more likely to want to go to that HBCU as well, especially if you know them, right? And so I've probably had about 4 or 5 people that have been interested in coming to Howard just from swimming, just from my club team alone, because I just went there, right? And it just takes that one person to go there and bring those experiences back. And actually, one person actually is there now. He's a senior. He's breaking records. He went to Olympic trials. Wow. It's crazy. So and I don't know where he would have went if, I wasn't kind of trying to tingle him along, trying to get him to the HBCU experience, who knows? But he brought his talent to an HBCU, and it's amazing. It's amazing. We're lucky to have him. We're happy he's here. I'm happy he's happy. And now, we talked about networking and experience as well. Now he just got an internship with the USA track and field team. And now he just moved out to Indianapolis. I just texted him this morning. Yeah. So he went out to Indianapolis, and now he's out there till July 31st doing his thing. And it's really cool. It's really cool how HBCUs can connect you to other opportunities, and you can experience a whole different reality than you would have otherwise, right? And yeah, I think it really just starts with that, but it's also HBCUs using their platform. I see a lot of athletic teams, starting social media pages. I think that's great because we may recruit all over the country, and just actually see what goes on in that environment. I think the platform of social media is perfect for that, because you actually get to see what goes on day in, day out on our swim team or on any athletic team. And then you can imagine yourself in that environment. And I think a lot of people do that we recruit. So I think if more athletes or athletic programs do that, it will be very, very advantageous.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Very thought-provoking too.
Yep. And again, it just shows the difference that one person can make, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And I was gonna say, I played football at Howard, so what you were saying makes a lot of sense. And you were actually networking with the high school student, right?
Yeah.
And that's how that person ended up coming to Howard and swimming at Howard and Olympic trials, all that great stuff, right?
Right.
And HBCUs put out phenomenal athletes and have been doing so since day one. Right. And continue to do so. So
exactly.
It's great. It's great.
It's great.
Cheyenne, I have one final question for you. All right. What advice as a rising senior at the Lincoln University, right? What advice would you have for any junior, senior in high school who's looking to pursue going to an HBCU? What advice would you have for them?
I would definitely say just step out of your comfort zone. Speaking from myself, I'm also a first generation college student. Both my parents went to college, but neither one of them were able to finish because of their own situations. But I'll be the first one in my family to actually finish college and go to medical school. So I'm very happy for that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I would just say definitely just put yourself out there. Like, life really does start at the end of your comfort zone. I think a lot of times, we as humans kind of are our biggest barrier. We limit the things we can do because we're like, oh, well, if this doesn't work, then what's my backup plan? Or what if I'm not good at this? Or what if other people are better than me or something like that? Especially being African American, you hear that a lot, like that you are limited to a lot of things. But just really put yourself out there and see what you can do. Like, don't say no until you tried it or you actually experienced it, because you really can learn a lot about whatever you're experiencing. And then in turn, you can learn a lot about yourself as well. And like the lessons that you learn, you can take them with everything that you do in college, after college. It's just really just a good time. Like, college is just really a good moment for you to really experience life for what it is, and not through like that lens of like you being a child, but you actually get to see the world for what it is. And I don't know, just being like at HBCU, I feel like they teach you stuff that the world doesn't teach you. Like the stuff that you experience and see that comes in and out of HBCU, you don't get that in the real world. So I would just say, just put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to try something new, even if it's like eating a different food or something. Like, I'm just saying anything random, but just anything. Just put yourself out there. Like, don't be your biggest roadblock. Like, allow yourself to experience everything.
Beautiful, beautiful. I had to reach down and pick up my pad of paper and write down a quote that you just said.
Yeah.
Life starts at the end of your comfort zone. What a beautiful quote. I'm gonna use that too.
Right. I'll make sure you get credit for that one.
Yeah, you will. Oh my gosh. This has been an awesome discussion. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Just thank you all so much for taking the time on a Sunday afternoon to share with us, and really to share with the world. You'd be surprised at the difference you'll make from sharing this time with us, and those who will come back and listen to this. As you said, Noah, just speaking about HBCUs, going back and speaking to people. Well, this is another opportunity to do just that. And you've all done that, where, it'll be out there in the world for all to hear and to see. And maybe a high school student will see themselves in one of you.
Yeah.
You just never know the power and just, putting it out in the universe and what will come out. And you all have said so many things that Dwight and I can even relate to, even though we experienced college quite a while ago, but but so many things to relate to, like Cheyenne and Janae. I'm the first to graduate between my parents. My mother ultimately graduated after I graduated, but I was the first to go through that full process. And much like Noah said, to my knowledge, I was the first from my high school in Cleveland, Ohio, to go to Howard University. But then behind me came about 3 or 4 people who came to Howard. I'm sure there have been more since I graduated, because then we started that track record at my high school of people going to specifically Howard, but I'm sure it just opened their eyes to HBCUs in general. And so, it just takes one person to make such a huge difference. So we applaud all of you.
So proud of each one of you. I mean,
we're so proud of you.
So wonderful. You guys really make me proud. I can't tell you enough. We brag about you all to so many people, and you just made our hearts just shine. So thank you very, very much for your time to help spread the HBCU love.
Yeah. To share the love. That's what we're asking you to do. And so as we said, we'll be announcing our new 20 awardees within the next month. So all will know, and again, there'll be $5,000 scholarships for each of those students. But in addition to that, it is amazing. I mean, this is our first time doing this amount, and we hope to continue to climb and do even more, outreach to our community, and specifically the HBCU community. And on that note, we have a fundraiser coming up on June 20th. It's going to be a golf tournament at Lakewood Country Club in Rockville, Maryland, which will help to raise those funds, and it'll go to support the scholarships as well as the programming that we'll provide to the students this year. So we're super excited, and we just want to invite anybody who's out there watching, if you want to know more about the Williams Franklin Foundation or any of these beautiful people that you see on the screen, Janae Austin, Noah Nicholas, or Cheyenne Riley. You can find information on each of them on our website at www.wmsfranklinfoundation.org, as well as information about our upcoming golf tournament and other events coming up. So thank you all for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you later.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.